Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I want to address some of the complaints that were mentioned during the open beta of the finals and assess if there's a reasonable concern. So let's begin. Now, cheating was the most frequent thing mentioned in the forum, and these forums are on Steam and Reddit. I was more active in Steam, seeing that the devs seem to be more responsive over there. But I feel like my interactions with players feel reasonable and legit. There were some instances I did question. For example, I played in a server that had a lot of Chinese names in the server. Now, I don't know if I was in a server that was in China or it just happened to be I was in a server with a bunch of Chinese players. But the server was really laggy to the point where I couldn't aim. And the other players, the ones with the Chinese names, seemed like they had unlimited dash and I couldn't hit them. And they'd never miss a shot. Every single shot hit. Now, again, I don't know if this is a hack server, if it was a regional thing, or if is this high ping. But I think with this being an outlier, what we gotta ask is it players' adaptability to the game that's a culprit, or is it actually hacks? Because this game implement EAC, and there's concern with this anti-cheat, seeing that it's kind of like the bare minimum. But they have stated that they're working on a solution, and the fight against cheats is a never-ending battle. And there are some saying that there needs to be more be done, like using AI anti-cheat or going down to a kernel level to detect these cheats. But I think that we'll have to wait till launch to see how the development team handles this and see if they addressed our concern for fair gameplay. Movement was another topic that was heavily debated. Most people said that movement felt sluggish or poor. While comparing it to games like Apex and Call of Duty, many wished that they had similar movement styles or abilities. And so I think this isn't a good idea. I think it would create a lot of imbalance in the game as it's centered around trade-offs. And speed and movement is one of those trade-offs. You got a light person that's fast and has movement abilities versus a heavy person that has durability but is slow. And so I think that based upon these two different concepts of heavy versus light, fast and slow, I think character-based movement is justified by giving heavy people slow movement and light fast. Now the game still does allow for Apex zip jumps and super glide, as well as some other capabilities that are Apex-based movement. And while they do help to a certain extent, the game really centers around its gunplay and its accuracy, where you're more rewarded for being precise over being accurate, meaning if you hit the head 5 times, the multiplier is reward. Where if you hit the body or then hit the arm and hit the leg, that damage output that you do versus all the headshot is minimum because you're more precise in hitting the head. And so I think in terms of the game, it's fair because you're being rewarded for being accurate versus being a movement god. And because there's no movement god scripting, at least for right now, everyone's on an equal footing unless they can't aim. So I think things are fair on the movement aspect. Going off of that, we look at builds. And so builds is one of the top 3 debated topics on this, saying that light should be buffed and heavy should be nerfed because it takes too long to kill heavy and light dies too fast. And I disagree with this because, again, it's a trade-off. If you want to be fast and be in and out of situations, you shouldn't have the same damage or same health as a medium or a heavy. That would make that build too overpowered, especially since you can get out and go hide and heal. A lot of times, heavy or medium can't really fully escape and they get hunted down. And so I think that things are in a good place right now. I mean, you got 150, 250, and 350 who correlate to light, medium, and heavy. And I think if you're to give light more health, that'd make them extremely OP. I mean, because their whole job is to be a flanker or someone that kind of is in and out to divert attention from the other two. And so it's a high risk, high reward playstyle because you got cloak, it makes you hidden. Because you got dash, that makes you move really fast. I mean, you gotta look at how you're supposed to play the character and use it to what the abilities respond to. Whereas a heavy, you're supposed to be a tank. You're supposed to take a lot of shots. I mean, you look at all their abilities and it's sent to breach, sent to defend, because you got the goo gun, you got the wall, and all these can be used in ways to block off people or push things. Their role is support. You need health to be something like that. And so when it comes down to it, it's just people are trying to play the Call of Duty or Battlefield style where they just run and gun and not taking into consideration what class they're using. So I don't think the builds is a concern rather than someone that just wants to be able to abuse the system and be a light and have 300 health and be on equal footing as a heavy. Now, there's a talk about overpowered weapons. You're talking about like RPGs, silenced pistols, stun guns, flamethrowers, and even sniper rifles. These were all guns that were kind of mentioned that should be rebalanced. And the rebalancing is mainly because they kill too fast or they're not fast enough. People who are light mains complain about the RPG because they're getting one-shotted. but wouldn't complain about nades or C4 blowing them up. While heavies complain about the stun gun and the silenced pistol combo, where they couldn't move and then they get murdered. And I think it's balanced. I mean, there's some tweaks that could be made. RPGs, sniper rifles, I think they're fine. I don't think a sniper rifle should do more damage than it is. I mean, if it could one-shot a light build with a headshot, that means it does 150 damage with the multiplier. And so it would make sense that it 2 shots a medium and then 3 shots a heavy based upon that. And I don't think that it should be able to one-shot a heavy with a headshot, because then it's inconsistent with, you could just one-shot anybody. I don't think that the values or the damage values should change for that sniper rifle. RPG, it one-shots light. It takes mediums down to like maybe 1/5 of the health left, and heavies, it takes them down to like a quarter. So I think that it's fair. Dome nades or dome shield should be on your build if you know that people will use these guns. The flamethrower has a distance of about 8 meters. So if you play beyond 8 meters, then it's not going to be an issue. The problem is the smart flamethrower guy is going to play in places or get cash outs in places that forces you to play tight. And so as player gamers, we're used to pushing a lot. And so the problem is that because they take advantage of those tight spaces, you got to run turns and all this stuff, and you just can't get away. So that's why the flamethrower is so OP in these tight places. For example, let's look at Monaco, and there's a fountain out there where they have a cash out point. And the flamethrower is not going to be strong because there's so much distance that you can pick people off, because you can pick the AKs, you can pick the Lewis guns, the M60s, pistols, and nitpick at the flamethrower until he's dead, because he's so far away he can't hit you. So I think we got to take into account the situation that if they're playing tight, maybe carry smokes or something, or goo to block off the flames so you can get away. I mean, the game's based around trade-offs. So if someone using one thing, use something else to counter it. The silenced pistol is another big one. And I'm kind of torn between this one because it's balanced to me and it's imbalanced. I think if anything, if you want to balance it, maybe reduce the mag size, or maybe decrease the drop-off damage, where if it hits out to 30 meters, drop it down to 24 or something, or 20. I just don't think that decreasing the hit value is a good solution, because it just make it not useful. And so I think that some type of trade-off, rate of fire would be another one to balance it out rather than messing with the damage. And the stun gun, same thing. I'm torn, but I think it's mainly balanced. If anything, maybe a time reduction, because it does feel like you're stunned for quite some time. And maybe if it's 3 seconds, original is 5 seconds, then I think that'd be a good balancing. It's a high risk, high reward weapon. If you miss your shot and the heavy turns around, you're pretty much done unless you're close to a window and you could dash out and then cloak on the ground. The next topic is performance. People are complaining about consistent crashing or lagging in the game, but when these posters were confronted about their system specs, these specs were like the bare minimum. So they either had a card that was too old or not the right CPU. This is causing the issues for them. They didn't have a strong enough system to push the game. And so I played closed beta 1 and 2, and I could see that the game from closed beta 1 definitely improved to open beta. I think I was getting about 100 frames on closed beta 1, maybe 120. And then I was getting about 120 to around 160 with closed beta 2. And now I was pushing about 180 to 200 with the open beta. So they have been making some big improvements, but I'm hoping that the game is very optimized when it comes out officially. Next to cheating, probably TTK would be the biggest complaint. Majority of these players that played open beta were basically complaining that it took too long to kill people and that it needs to be reduced. And I think games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, Counter-Strike, where TTK could be pretty fast depending on if you line your shots. I mean, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, you die instantly. And that's the reward, right? That's the dopamine high that you get. And so you could peek a corner real quick, pop someone, kill them, instant death. And as gamers, you gotta realize that this game is different. It's not going to be the same as all these other games. Why would you want to play a game that's the same as Call of Duty or Battlefield? Nostalgia, yeah, but I want to play something different. I want to play something that makes me feel excited in a different way. Whether I pull off a steal at the last second, like that's what I want to play. And so I think when you play games like Call of Duty, just putting bullets anywhere on the body can kill someone instantly. Whereas the finals, you have to be precise. You have to get as many headshots as you can because the damage stacks. If you hit just pure body and the other dude's hitting pure head, you're going to lose the battle. And the game rewards precision over accuracy. Accuracy is important, but if you're not precise, you're not going to drop the target fast enough. The game has its own identity and style. It's not your Call of Duty. It's not your Battlefield. Just adapt. Vault value was an issue as well, because what happens is you had 2 to 3 stages, and every stage the cash value of the vault would go up. So let's say if it was 5,000, next round would be 10,000, and then maybe 15,000. Those aren't the correct values, but we'll just use it for example. And so people that were down at the bottom, 4th place, can easily take the last cash out and become 1st or 2nd place and win the round. And for me, I think that's the name of the game, right? The one that wins has the most cash out at the end of the game. And so I don't think it should be changed. I just think you need to develop better strats to defend it or attack. mean, because if you can't defend your own cash out, you're going to lose. And some people have better strats. I think because of this bump up in cash and the sense that you could lose at any time, it creates a bigger sense of urgency, and that adds atmosphere to the game because it's a winner takes all approach. And if you're not prepared or you're not as skilled, you're going to lose. So I mean, I think it's fine. I like the sense of urgency that it creates, and I don't see anything that needs to be changed by this. Now, recoil was mentioned. People were claiming that recoil for some of these guns were way too strong. They were saying like the AK had too much kick. I'm like, dude, you have not played AK in the CSGO, right? That gun has kick until you learn how to control the recoil. And I don't know if these are mouse and keyboard players or if they're controller players, because I don't think aim assist is as strong as it is in like games like Apex or Call of Duty. And I think it's balanced as it is. I don't think there's anything really overpowering with aim assist in this game. I think recoil is fine. I just think people need to go into the training grounds and practice with these guns and learn the recoil. I mean, the AK went up slightly to the right, so to counteract it, you pull down slightly to the left and you're beaming. I don't think it's a hard thing. I think it's a skill issue where people just want no recoil and have aim assist kicked up so where they could just point and shoot. But I mean, this is what separates skill and creates skill gap. Either A, go to the training grounds and practice. B, get your sensitivity and point. Each game's different. Sensitivities could be changed. Maybe you don't have the right sensitivity. So get your sensitivity dialed in and practice. Now that we have the kind of the complaints out of the way, some ideas to kind of keep things fresh or quality of life situations would be the ability to change characters at any time. So we get in these situations where everyone's a heavy, you got a bunch of team of lights, maybe you got two mediums on light and your team's running all light, and you can't push to this vault because you keep getting killed. I think the ability to switch your build in between death would be key for not only game longevity, but competition and constant change and how you approach cash out points, because you can have a build that's made for transport or a build that's made for destruction, and you only can use one or the other because that's what you're locked in for the game. So I think that if they open it up to where you can switch from any build that you have saved, I think it definitely improved the game substantially. And this one's kind of way out there, but I think that if they added like a end of season tournament where the top teams of maybe every rank would compete in a tournament within their rank, and maybe those top teams that in those ranks or the top two teams go to a bigger bracket where all the two teams compete for the grand championship. Rewards would probably be like a battle pass or skins or something that would kind of give back to community. And if it goes pro, they could do their own thing. But just for, let's say, gold, you sign up on Embarks, they stat track you. And let's say if you have a team of 3 and maybe a couple subs, they take the top 3 scores to verify if you make the top 16, 32 places, wherever the bracket's going to be. And then those top teams at the end of the season would all play. It'd be gold 4 all the way to gold 1, and they all play against each other to see who the champion is of gold. And then the top 2 teams for maybe gold and silver, bronze, diamond, masters, whatever the ranks are, they would go into a bigger bracket and all play. I mean, it's kind of skewed. Predators are going to probably destroy everybody, right? But anything could happen in these matches and upsets. So that'd be kind of a cool thing. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you all take care.